Right there where the pinpoint is, that is the beautiful city of Chicago. So on today's video, we're gonna be talking about, with my handy dandy tiny little globe here, we're gonna be talking about the city of Chicago, and specifically, is living in Chicago worth it? So I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary of living in Chicago, and I wanted to do a deep dive on whether it's been worth it or if it's not. I'm gonna take into consideration 10 decision points, and I'm gonna go into each one of these decision points, and then at the end of each section, I'm actually gonna rank on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being that it's definitely not worth it, 10 being absolutely worth it, how I feel about living in Chicago, and specifically, is living in Chicago worth it? So the 10 factors we're taking into consideration on this video is weather, job market, cost of living, family and friends being nearby, schools, ease of transportation and commute, nature, lifestyle, crime and safety, and lastly, overall mental well-being and happiness. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jordan Pyle, and I'm your go-to Chicago real estate agent. If this information has been helpful today, please do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe, and definitely be sure to check out all the free resources down in the description. Lastly, feel free to text me if I can be of a resource to you in helping achieve your real estate goals, or if you're moving to Chicago, my team and I would be absolutely honored to help. All right, so enough of the intro, let's get on into today's video. So number 1 on the list, we have weather. So if you hate the cold and not a fan of the snow, well, Chicago may not be the best place for you. However, with the cold winter months, Chicago quickly changes into the most beautiful city in the world from the spring, summer, and the fall. Obviously, we all know that weather can affect your mood, commute, and overall health, so do your research before making a move to Chicago. Also, when people are thinking about moving to a new city, they keep in mind different things like natural disasters and severe weather, which while Chicago doesn't necessarily have natural disasters, we are right off of Lake Michigan, which comes with a whole series of different types of effects like lake effect snow and a lot of wind and humidity, both warm and cold humidity. All right, so what's my overall score for this one? I'm gonna rank weather in Chicago 7 out of 10. And it might seem a little bit high because everyone talks about how cold Chicago is and how brutal the winters are. But in my personal opinion, if you can bear your way through the winter, spring, summer, and fall far outweigh the disadvantages of the Chicago winters. All right, the second decision point we're talking about today, the jobs and the employment opportunities. Employment opportunities can vary between states, regions, and cities. So it's important to do some research about employment opportunities within your industry and try to locate an area that has a high concentration of those jobs. Keep in mind that salaries vary greatly between locations as well. So using sites like nerdwallet.com, you can go and help you determine salary ranges and cost of living in these areas. The beauty of living in a big city is a lot of the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies have a presence here. So some of the Chicago job opportunities that are available include opportunities at companies such as Accenture, Boeing, the McDonald's headquarters is here, Hyatt Hotels, United Airlines, and Deloitte, just to name a few. So when it comes to job and employment opportunities, I'm gonna give Chicago a 10 out of 10 because there's no shortage of job opportunities here in Chicago. Number 3 on the list is cost of living. So I'm not gonna get into a ton of specifics here because I actually did a full video dedicated to Chicago cost of living, which you can find up here. However, Chicago is the most affordable major metropolitan when compared to other large metropolitans such as New York, Miami, San Francisco, Boston, etc. One of the most important factors to consider when deciding on a location is the affordability. So living comfortable within your means should be a primary concern. Affordability extends well beyond the sale price of a home. It includes things such as property taxes, utilities, and local costs such as groceries, gas, and other amenities. So to tally up cost of living, I'm gonna give Chicago a 6 out of 10, and it's getting a couple notches down because it is more expensive than the national average. However, compared to other large major metros, it is actually a very affordable city. So overall, cost of living in Chicago is a 6 out of 10. All right, number 4 on the list, we're talking about proximity to family and friends. Now obviously this is very situational, but for me these are just solely my opinions. This whole video is solely my opinion. I have a ton of family and friends. Also, Chicago is a great city in order to make new friends. And my family happens to be, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana originally. As I mentioned, I've been in Chicago now coming up 10 years. But since growing up in Fort Wayne, I still have a lot of extended family there, which is about a 3-hour drive from Chicago. However, my immediate family, so my parents, and then my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids are actually located in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is only about 2.5 hours away. So for me, being in Chicago is great, and I'm gonna rank it a 9 out of 10. However, obviously, you need to take this into consideration for yourself and whether you have family and friends nearby. Number 5 on the list, talking about schools. A lot of people move to Chicago when planning to attend either medical or law school. Actually, a lot of my clients that reach out to me on this channel, they're actually moving here for those exact reasons. Chicago is home to Loyola, Northwestern, University of Chicago, Moody Theological Seminary, and many more. You also have the DePaul University smack dab in the middle of my favorite neighborhood, which is Lincoln Park, which is popular for their undergrad students. Every year I help many people find a place to live in the city that is close to school so that they can walk or just be a short commute away. So check out this link for niche.com. You can go and learn even more about all the schools here in Chicago. We're also going to put the link down in the description so you can go and do the research for yourself. Overall, I'm going to rank Chicago schools a 9 out of 10. Anywhere from elementary school to high school to undergrad and graduate schools, there are a robust network of school systems here, and a lot of people flock to Chicago for that very reason. Number 6 on the list, we're talking about ease of transportation in your commute. So Chicago actually has one of the best mass transportation cities in the whole entire country, and everyone raves about how genius the grid system is. So in my opinion, the transportation system here in Chicago and your commute, obviously it largely depends on where you're going, if you have a car or if you don't have a car, but I do think a lot of people agree that Chicago is a very great transportation system. So now on the other hand, if you do have a car or if you're scared of traffic, I can see how Chicago could deter a lot of people that don't want to deal with this, because at certain times of day, you have to be a very proactive driver, and if you're driving or if you're taking public transit, you got to be able to account for traffic. You always have to make sure that you're keeping your eyes and your ears on the road and being aware of your surroundings, because there are a ton of people, over 3 million people live in the city, so making sure that you're getting around the city in an effective and efficient way. So for these reasons, ease of commute and transportation, I'm gonna rank as a 7 out of 10. So if you've made it this far, hopefully this is great information for you so that you can help determine whether Chicago is right for you. Don't forget, we have a ton of great resources down in the description for you to check out and to read over in your spare time. Next up, we're talking about number 7, which is nature accessibility. And unfortunately, Chicago doesn't really fare too well in this category. You know, being somebody that actually loves nature and desires nature, you have to get about 30 to 40 minutes outside of the city at a minimum in order to get some nature. So I actually go about 30 minutes outside the city, usually on the weekends early in the morning, which only takes me 30, 35 minutes, and I go out to Palos Park. I'm a big runner. I'm actually training for my first 100-mile ultra marathon, completed an Ironman in 2021, so I go out to Palos Park to run the trails probably 2 to 3 times every single month. That being said, if you're looking for accessibility to nature on a daily basis, the best option for you is to just go to the lakefront. You can walk, you can run, you can swim in Lake Michigan, you can go out on your boat. Even though this isn't really considered nature, this is your next best bet. And actually the lakefront in Chicago is one of the favorite things that I love about Chicago. So to sum up nature accessibility, I'm gonna give Chicago a 4 out of 10. Next up on the list is number 8, which is overall lifestyle. What I love so much about the lifestyle here in Chicago is the energy is absolutely incredible. So a lot of Chicago are young professionals that are very focused on their career. However, there's also a knack here to make sure that your lifestyle and that your health and your fitness and your overall well-being is in check. So if you like that combination of work hard, play hard, and making sure that you're maximizing and optimizing your body and getting in your workouts and your fitness and overall just making sure that you're in tip-top shape, I feel that Chicago has a lot to offer. So even though it's a largely working city, it is also a very active city, and during the spring, during the summer, and even into the fall, like I said before, the lakefront trail is absolutely hopping. For these reasons and more, I'm gonna give lifestyle here in Chicago an 8 out of 10. So the number 9 decision point on the list is crime and safety in Chicago. According to usnews.com, crime is often a concern when people look to move to a city or a neighborhood they're unfamiliar with. The idea of being the victim of a crime is a very real fear for many people. However, crime statistics rarely show the full picture and often fail to reveal built-in bias and shouldn't be taken at face value. There's data available online, or calling the local police department can help provide some information, but I always advise you visit the area and experience it for yourself. I also recommend you going back a few times and you experiencing the different parts of the city during the morning, during the day, and during the night, so that you can get a general overall feel of the crime and safety here in Chicago. For crime and safety, this is gonna come in at a 5 out of 10. We all know crime and safety is something that Chicago can do better, and there is much room for improvement. All right, last but not least, and one of the most important things I think when people are thinking about moving to or deciding on a place to call home is your mental well-being and overall happiness. Your ability to be happy in a new city shouldn't be overlooked, and I think is probably at the very top of the list, even though this is number 10 on today's list. However, overall, I think in Chicago, your mental well-being and your happiness level are largely dependent on you and all of the things that you consume, all the people that you listen to, the groups that you surround yourself with, and all of that does play into your overall well-being and your state of happiness. So to sum it all up, we are in control of our mental well-being and happiness, and obviously there's different seasons of life. Sometimes you're on a super high, sometimes you have a super low, and I think that contrast is what makes life so beautiful. As long as you never give up and you focus on continuous and never-ending improvement, then you're doing something right and just never quit. So overall, I'm gonna give this category a 7 out of 10 for me personally, because I'm ultimately very, very happy here in Chicago. All right, so the average I came up here, if you take all 10 of these scores and divide them up, is 6.6 out of 10, which in my personal opinion is a very fair assessment about how I feel about living in Chicago and whether it is worth it. If this info has been valuable to you today, please do me a favor, comment down below what you think about living in Chicago and if it's been worth it to you, or if you're considering moving here, let me know what questions you have and how this ultimately plays into your decision to call Chicago home. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe so that you can catch all of our future videos, and always feel free to text me if I can be a resource to you in any way. All right, until the next video, peace.